But when we're told about quality, especially when it comes to cannabis, a lot of that quality seems to start with the genetics, and from what we've heard, that it's no different for rosin. Could you tell us about why the genetics matter specifically to rosin, and maybe some of the work that the High Fidelity team has done in finding the best genetics for these products?
Yeah, so we've put a lot of time into hunting genetics down for what we actually wanted to bring to the rec market and what it was that we wanted to provide to the people. Solventless, solventless is a tricky game in itself because the plants don't always produce what we need to make these solventless products. We collect the trichome heads, which is the active ingredients on the plant itself, and that's where the cannabinoids and the terpenes develop, and so that's what we're isolating. But if the heads that develop on the plant are small or underdeveloped at the time of harvest, there's just not a lot of hash there when you do the wash. And so you really need to make sure that what you're putting through your system is a product that's actually going to produce a significant amount of bubble hash, enough that you can turn that hash into further products or into rosin as the goal is here. But if you're just putting through genetics sort of at random, you don't really know what sort of quality you're going to get on the other end. You don't really know what sort of yield you're going to get on the other end. And you could spend a lot of significant amount of time and labor trying to produce products that just either don't produce or don't produce a product that we would be happy and proud of. Sometimes the heads just aren't there the way we like them to be.
That's really interesting. Would you say that a lot of the products on the market now are doing that kind of work? Because we're seeing a lot of rosin products start to show up, but maybe not the ones that are of the highest quality.
Yeah, I do wonder if some of these folks on the market currently are a bit more focused on throughput, whereas we are a bit more focused on quality. To give you a really good example, we have come on to the rec market with the Rainbow Driver that we've put all this back work into before we ever got here. But also now that we're on the market, we put through 22 different cultivars through our test wash system to try and figure out which one of those 22 different cultivars were actually produced. 5 or so got crossed off the list once we pressed them pretty much immediately, and we are down to about 3 from the 22 that we're actually happy to move forward with. And I think that's one of the things that actually differentiates us, is that we're spending this time doing the legwork and doing the hunting to find quality inputs that are going to create the quality output. You have to have quality in if you want to have quality out, and we're taking the time to make sure we find that quality and we can present that to you.
All right, so once we've got these awesome quality genetics and this beautiful flower, what do we do with it to turn it into a rosin? What's the first step?
So the first step to turn it into live rosin, which is our favorite product that and what we're presenting to you, is to actually harvest that product and then freeze it immediately. So that will produce what's considered a live rosin, because the plant was harvested still alive and thrown straight into the freezer. This helps to actually preserve some of the volatile terpenes that are lost in the drying process, and will present you with a product that is much more colorful and lively and resembles the actual growing plant rather than the dried plant. So we take that fresh frozen, we then put it through a wash cycle, which is where the extraction actually happens. And so it's mixed with ice, water, and then the fresh frozen cannabis, and it's sort of cycled around through the water, and that process separates the plant from the trichome heads themselves through the different weights of the material. The trichome heads are then rinsed through the water through the system and are collected through different sizes through different screens. And so we filter them there and we collect the ripest heads for that pheno. And so sometimes you'll find like one cultivar, the ripest heads are in this group, another cultivar, the ripest heads are in that group. So that's another part of the legwork, is finding where those heads actually are. Once you've collected the trichome heads that you're happy with, we dry them through our freeze dryer, which is a 24, sometimes 36-hour process. Once that's dry, we have what's commonly known as bubble hash. Bubble hash can then be taken and turned into a bunch of different things, like similar to a shatter, similar to a resin. We can do different hashes with it. We can even do diamonds with it. It's a pretty exciting product. So once we get that bubble hash, we're going to put that into filter bags, and we're going to apply a small amount of heat and pressure on our rosin press, and that will actually allow these trichome heads to express their oils that are contained within, and they express onto the parchment paper, which makes for a really easy collection. We then collect that rosin from the filter paper, and another thing that makes us unique is we handle that rosin as little as possible at this stage. I don't want to touch it too much. I don't want to twist it. I don't want to turn it. I'm going to carefully collect it and put it in a jar and allow it to cure. It's going to go through a cold cure cycle until we see a nice layer of terpenes collecting on the top. Then we're going to mix those terpenes back in, which is going to leave us with a nice creamy, doughy texture that's going to stay nice and moist. And then we will turn that around and present it back to you as a consumer. That's live rosin in a nutshell.